This is the sound of the biggest toothed predator on the planet. A song being broadcast from the deepest reaches of the sea.
A breakthrough for scientists after they had a 20-minute conversation with a humpback whale.
Have you ever thought that whales might be talking to each other behind our backs? Imagine a drone flying through the deep blue, picking up sounds that no one has ever heard before. Quick clicks that turned out to be a secret language. Scientists have finally been able to break the code with the help of powerful AI. Now is the time to learn amazing things about these ocean giants, so buckle up and investigate them with us. Number 10. The clicks that became a code. For many years, the sounds that came from the deep water were just thought of as noise. Hydrophones that were hung from ships picked up strange sounds like moans, hollow thumps, and sharp pops that sounded more like the ocean shaking than animals talking. Scientists didn't start to understand there was a system beneath the chaos until they slowed down and studied the clicks of sperm whales. The short clicks that these whales make are called codas. For people, each ending sounds like a few quick pops of static that are too fast to tell apart. But these bursts don't happen by chance. The way letters make words is how they carry information. When experts stopped trying to listen with just their ears and started turning sound into pictures, that's when things started to change. Spectrograms, which are graphs that show how often and when each click happens, finally let them see trends we could never hear. In this case, artificial intelligence came into play. Deep learning models were taught to pick up on even the smallest changes in beat and tempo by being fed millions of these coda spectrograms. The AI found features that humans couldn't see, like a barely audible pause between clicks, a faint extra pop at the beginning or end of the pattern, and small changes in speed within the same pattern. Just like changing one letter can change the meaning of a whole word, each small change changed the meaning. As the AI went through huge amounts of data, it started to connect certain rhythmic signatures to how animals behave in the real world. For example, one pattern showed up when families were close, another when animals were near babies, and others when animals were deep diving to find food. This clear mapping showed that whales weren't just swapping noises, they were using a language-like system. The ocean chatter turned out to be a set of rules. That one discovery broke the old idea that syntax was only used by people to shape language. We had to realize that another species had set up a structured way for people to share information, one that could change tone and meaning through rhythm and adornment. Think about it. The whole alphabet, not on paper or screens, but in short bursts of pressure that move miles through dark water. This is the secret world that the underwater drone's hydrophones first picked up on, and the AI finally figured out. But if these clicks are a language, then what kind of mind made them? We need to meet the mind that made the code in order to understand it. This mind is driven by the world's biggest brain, which is 6 times heavier than ours. Where the story gets even stranger is at that point. Number 9. Brains 6 times our own. The clicks were amazing on their own, but what really shocked scientists was when they compared whale language to the organ that made it. The brain of a sperm whale can weigh up to 18 pounds, which is about 6 times the weight of a human brain. No other living thing has ever been known to have a brain that big. It's not just about size, it's also about what that size lets you do. The neocortex is made up of tightly folded layers of tissue in the whale's brain. This is the same part of our brain that helps us remember things, learn new things, and make friends. It can hold billions more neurons that can fire, connect, and keep information if it has more folds. With such a big brain, these whales aren't just built to stay alive. They're built to remember. Their minds can hold ocean maps for decades. They can remember which stations their ancestors watched, and they can recognize their relatives' clicks even after years have passed. Culture is built on the ability to remember and store shared experiences. It's the invisible thread that lets information pass from one generation to the next. Researchers looking at the sperm whale's brain structure have also found a big, well-developed limbic system. This is the network of nerve cells that controls emotions. It sounds like this animal remembers its family and has close ties with them. It makes sense when you think about how they can live for more than 200 years and spend most of that time in small, close-knit groups. Even after a whale grows up and has babies, it may still be led by an old matriarch who knows the migration routes from 100 years ago. People who live long lives have strong memories and close relationships with each other, which makes it easy for traditions to form, like ways to hunt, meet each other, and even unique regional dialects. In a way, the AI that decodes their clicks is finding cultural past stored in those folds of gray matter. It serves as a warning that an animal's intelligence is not based on how well it can do math, but on how well it can remember things. Now that we know all of this, the short bursts of sound that the drones picked up look different to us. People carry them in bodies that can go a mile deep and still recognize the voice of a family member. They are not just signs, they are the echoes of minds shaped by hundreds of years of memories. But this level of ability is found in more places than just the brain. It can be seen in the decisions whales make and the way they act when they first come into being. Number 8. The whale birth rescue scene. In 2023, one of the drones flying off the coast of Dominica caught sight of something that no one thought they would see in the ocean. Through the blue haze of deep water, the camera saw a circle of huge forms moving at the same time. In the middle was a sperm whale that was pregnant and in labor. It was floating toward the surface. As she worked hard to keep the baby calf above water so it could breathe, her family moved in. 12 people gathered around the two, making a living cradle. Each whale took turns gently pushing the calf up, making sure that its tiny blowhole stayed above the water for the first few hours of its life, which were very important. They stayed in place for almost 6 hours straight, switching places like an underwater honor guard so the tired mother could rest while her baby learned to breathe and move. This wasn't just another piece of data for the experts who watched the video later. We got a glimpse into a society where everyone is responsible for each other's well-being. The rescue scene showed how much social teamwork is going on behind the scenes that you can't see. It's not just instinct that made these whales act the way they did. They were working together as a team with understanding, patience, and purpose. This is one reason why sperm whales can stay together as a family for decades. Their smarts aren't shown by the tools or tech they use, but by how they look out for each other. The drone's video didn't just show a rare birth in the wild. It also showed a guardianship practice that had been passed down through generations, but had never been so clearly documented. Scientists' ideas about what they knew about sea life were changed by that one video clip. The AI's library of clicks isn't just a list of language patterns. It's also a record of actions that show empathy and a sense of shared history. What else might whale clicks tell us about the social bonds that hold whole clans together if they can show how they work together during something as fragile as birth? The answer starts with the finding that whales don't all speak the same language. Each clan has its own unique language, and that difference is the key to figuring out how culture moves under the water. Number 7. Clan dialects beneath the waves. As the AI went through billions of clicks, it found another pattern that not even experienced whale experts had seen coming. The codas were not all the same. They changed slowly from one family group to the next, like how people's area accents change when they talk. A small extra beat here, a shorter pause there, and a slight change in the starting ornamentation were all that changed. But they were consistent enough for the AI to figure out which clan was speaking without ever seeing the whales. Based on that result, each family had its own sound signature. This find was more than just interesting. It proved that sperm whales have a cultural identity that is not based on genes, but on what they learn together. Like how kids pick up their family's language by listening to their moms and aunts, calves learn how to click like their family does by listening to them. Over many years, these languages have served as oral passports that help whales tell the difference between family, friends, and strangers across thousands of miles of ocean. For researchers, clan dialects gave them a new way to look at whale culture. With the same level of accuracy as a song or story, they could now keep track of how ideas like hunting strategies, greeting traditions, and even favorite places to lay babies could be passed down. Culture, which was once thought to be something only humans had, was moving along under the waves in patterns of pressure bursts. The protection teams also got a useful tool from this discovery. Since they know which clans meet where, they can better protect the migration routes of specific families instead of treating all whales as a single herd. The hydrophone grid went from being a passive recorder to a culture map of the ocean when scientists learned that whales speak different dialects. And that grid of microphones wasn't just any set of microphones. It was the world's first full-scale underwater listening studio, designed to record every talk in real time. This was a huge step forward in technology that changed the way scientists study whales forever. Number 6. The 20-kilometer Ocean Listening Studio Project, CT, needed more than a few spread-out sensors to pick up these sounds that were not being heard. Scientists call the area of the Caribbean Sea 20 kilometers by 20 kilometers, which they turned into an underwater listening lab. Engineers put down a dense network of hydrophones, which are high-sensitivity underwater microphones, on the seabed. These microphones are linked together like a huge three-dimensional net. This network records every click, groan, and whistle that comes within range, day or night. The system can figure out which whale made a sound by comparing the times at which different sensors pick it up. It can then track the whale as it moves across the grid. What it gathers is much bigger than the tape recordings of the 1970s. Instead of hours of random songs, the studio now collects billions of sounds, each with information about where the speaker is, who they are with, and what they are doing. By giving this huge amount of data to AI, experts can figure out who said what, to whom, and why. This increase in resolution changed decades of guesswork into real information that could be measured. Scientists can now watch clan talks happen and see how whales work together during hunts. They can also see how their tone changes when calves are around or when rival groups get close. The listening studio is more than just a place to record sounds. It has become a live place to study whale behavior. Its success shows that the ocean can be wired for study into communication without getting in the way of the animals' lives. But it wasn't just the hydrophones that were working. A group of self-driving underwater drones with suction cup tags on them helped the team figure out what the sounds meant at the time. These tags let them track the whale's movements, heartbeats, and stances as each message was spoken. With robotic scouts that could roam and ears that stayed on the seabed, scientists got their first full picture of life in a whale clan. This picture set the stage for the most exciting moment yet: the day a whale answered back. Number 5. Underwater drones. It wasn't enough to just record whale sounds. It was too far away for a ship or a floating buoy for experts to get close enough to figure out what the whales were doing at each sound. Because of that problem, one of the most daring tools for the project was made: a fleet of self-driving underwater drones with soft suction cup tags. These drones move slowly under the water and get close to whales without scaring them. They put a tag on the whale's back just behind the blowhole, where it won't get in the way of swimming with a light bump. If you think of a tag as a high-tech black box, it keeps track of every click, every turn and dive, every change in the whale's heart rate, and even which other whales are close. The tag comes loose after a while and floats back to the top to be found. The power of this method lies in the connection it makes between sound and movement. Scientists can link a whale's sound to a certain action if they record a certain coda at the same time that the whale arches to dive or slows down to rest. They don't have to think of whale language as random noise. Instead, they can watch it happen along with the things it talks about, like a subtitled version of the whale's daily lives. This method also gets rid of the guessing that was a problem with earlier research. Before drones, scientists would often hear clicks, but not know what whale made them or where they were coming from. It is now possible to see where the person who called was, what they were doing, and how their body reacted on every recorded call. The project looks like it belongs in a movie because of the sleek drones that are used as scouts by a team of quiet robots. More importantly, they've made the study much less intrusive. Boats won't be able to crowd pods, and no nets or capture will happen. It doesn't bother the whales that their talks and movements are being quietly recorded. When the drone data and the seafloor hydrophone data were put together, they turned years of notes that were all over the place into a live timeline of whale life. That schedule led to one of the most exciting breakthroughs so far. A whale finally answered the conversation which had been one way for so long. Number 4. When a whale answered back. People have been listening to whales for 50 years without getting any response. They have collected songs and clicks that sounded more like listening in than talking. In 2023, things changed. Researchers dropped an underwater speaker into the water off the coast of Dominica and played a single recorded coda that their AI models had figured out was a simple way to say hello. Soon after, a sperm whale nearby turned to the sound and replied with the same coda. This was the first time a whale had matched a human-made call in real time. It wasn't just noise or an accident. While experts watched the monitors, the exchange took only seconds, but it felt like a door between worlds had opened. That reaction is important for more than just being new. It showed that the AI's description of the coda structure was correct enough for a whale to understand what it meant. It also said that whales might be willing to interact with us if we speak to them in their own sound language instead of pushing ours on them. With this big step forward, we moved from passive observation to real conversation. The team could now start to test patterns instead of just recording talks. What happens if we change the rhythm, add an ornamentation, or use a dialect that is unique to the clan? Each test could show how whales understand nuances, context, and meaning. The event also brought up bigger issues. If a short hello could be sent and received, what about a string of hellos, or a simple question about an object or a direction? How much further could the talk go before it gets messy? These unknowns point to a future in which talking to other species might be normal, not strange. When the whale answered, it was clear that the clicks were more than just instinctual signals. They showed that the whales understood how to connect with each other, which is what language is all about. It also helped the researchers remember that they were talking to a culture with its own rules and customs, not just a group of individuals. That realization led to another one that proves whales have been teaching each other for a long time, even before we caught on. Scientists used decades of field notes and AI analysis to learn more about that part of their world and found proof of an ancient ocean society. Number 3. Ancient culture in the ocean. Could it be that whales didn't just get their instincts from their parents? What if they grew up in families that taught them lessons, told them stories, and passed down traditions like grandparents passing on recipes? Most scientists used to think that idea was crazy, but years of careful study showed that it was true. Shane Giro, a marine biologist, has been following the same families of sperm whales near the island of Dominica for more than 15 years. This was before Project CETYMES began its drones and underwater microphones. He did his study without fancy tools or satellites. He just had to be patient. He saw the same mothers, calves, and bigger cousins coming to the surface every day to make a life out on the open sea. As he kept an eye on these people, he noticed something strange. Baby whales didn't know how to hunt or where to migrate when they were born. They watched the older people in their group to learn how to do those things. Over time, Jero learned that each whale clan had its own favorite way to live. One group was good at chasing squid along steep underwater ridges, while another group used different paths or different animals to hunt. Even the way they met each other, took turns caring for the calves, and chose when to leave the feeding grounds for faraway waters were not automatic. These routines were taught by adults and used over and over again until they became normal. For years, most of these observations were written down in notebooks. They were interesting, but hard to show scientifically. Then the AI from Project CETI showed up. The machine started to sort the sounds by rhythm, speed, and ornamentation by looking at billions of recorded codas, which are the short clicks that whales use to talk. What strangers thought was random static turned out to be clear family signatures. The AI could connect call trends to specific family trees, and even guess what clan members would do. Everything changed. Suddenly, whales weren't just very smart animals that traveled the ocean. They were also cultural symbols. Memories, lessons, and shared experiences shaped their society, just like these things do for human groups. This finding was very important to conservationists because it meant that protecting a pod wasn't just about saving a group of individuals. It also meant protecting a living archive of information that had been passed down for hundreds of years. Knowing a lot about their culture also helped me understand why their way of communicating is so complicated. People who teach, learn, and work together need a language that can say a lot more than just stay alive. It makes sense that their codas are so complicated, with lots of different rhythms and accents that are unique to each clan, since they use them to stay close, find each other, and teach young whales about customs. Every beat in their language turned out to be a piece of history being passed on. Now, taking care of these animals means taking care of an unbreakable chain of ocean memories that may go back further than any human record. Culture isn't the end of the story, though. David Gruber, who started Project CETA, thinks that the same techniques that were used to figure out what these whales were saying could also help us figure out what signs from minds that are very different from our own are saying. The surprising link between whale clicks and the search for other civilizations beyond Earth takes this study to a new level that is both exciting and surprising. Number 2. What whales can teach about aliens? David Gruber, who is in charge of Project CETI, didn't start out thinking only about whales. SETI, or the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, gave him a lot of ideas. SETI scientists have been looking at the sky for decades for strange radio signals that could be a sent message from another civilization. Gruber realized that we have the same problem here on Earth. We live with another intelligent species that communicates in a way that is very different from ours. We might not be able to understand a word from the stars if we can't even understand the whales in our own ocean. That idea led to the main technology behind Project CETI. The math that was used to look for patterns in radio waves from space was changed to look for structure in the deep sea's chaotic noise. Before, machine learning models looked through telescope data for pulses that happened over and over again. Now, they were looking for beats that happened over and over again in sperm. A lot of people used spectrograms to learn about the ocean. The results have made whales a live test subject for figuring out how intelligence works in things that aren't humans. Every small change in tempo or ornamentation that the AI learned to understand in whale speech is a warning that alien minds may use rules that we don't understand. Project SETI shows us how to let the data show us how another species thinks instead of assuming that they would use our way of thinking. Scientists have created a new field called astrolinguistics out of the study of how language works in space and in the ocean. The idea is that if we can figure out what a marine giant's clicks mean, We might one day be able to figure out what signals from a society around another star mean. Clustering, pattern recognition, and statistical modeling of grammar were developed to sort through billions of whale codas. These methods could also be used to sort through bursts of light or radio waves that carry unknown languages. The way we value whales changes when we think of them as a metaphor for alien intelligence. They are no longer just things that need to be protected. They are now working together to solve one of the biggest science problems the world has ever seen. Every talk we piece together between whales helps us get ready for when we come across a message that didn't come from Earth. The success of Project SETI shows that bigger telescopes alone won't be enough to find other civilizations in the future. We will also need better AI that can find patterns where humans can only hear noise. Number 1. The question of talking to giants. It's not just a scientific accomplishment that a translation key for whale language has been found. It also opens a door for people that has never been used before. We're almost ready to have a two-way talk with another intelligent species that lives on Earth for the first time. That chance is exciting, but it also comes with a lot of obligations. One pressing worry is whether we should even start talking. Whale groups have been going strong for millions of years without any help from people. Adding our own signals could make their relationships worse or even throw off the careful balance of their dialects. Scientists have already seen how small changes in rhythm or decoration can change what a clan's coda means. Could we fool them or make one group think they understand another group wrong if we add fake patterns? Interference with culture is another problem. For these animals, family life is very important, and customs are passed down from generation to generation. No matter how well-meaning the talk is, it could change those traditions by changing the whale's behavior or giving them expectations they didn't have before. Birdwatchers say that it's not enough to just protect an animal's body. Its language and culture also need to be protected. There's also the issue of permission. A whale can't be told what an experiment is or asked if it wants to take part. In other words, every attempt to reach out has the moral weight of doing something without permission. Researchers say that any future conversations should be calm, polite, and based on what the whales say, not just people's natural interest. Even with these problems, the chance to understand whales through their own words is very helpful. It might help us better deal with threats in their environment, do a better job of saving people who get stuck, and build empathy that leads to stricter rules protecting the ocean. The important thing is to find the line between helpful contact and harmful interference. The team working on Project SETI takes this problem very seriously. They see each test as a part of a bigger goal of having responsible conversations between species. Their method is meant to let the whales set the pace. They start by saying hello and carefully watching for natural reactions instead of forcing the conversation. This argument is about more than just whales. If we ever get signs from a society on another planet, how we behave during our first interactions with ocean giants will show us how to talk to any intelligent being that is not human. Before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep-sea discoveries. Click the next video popping up on your screen to keep discovering the secrets of the ocean's giants.